person to push an initiative that has to do with ethnic hair care in a predominantly white environment. I prayed about it. It takes a lot of courage to even put in a grant or even ask people, like, is this something you might be interested in? Because I don't see a lot of black people, to be honest. You know, at my current job, there's one other black lady that works there. I think the university probably has a larger minority population because they get people from all around the country, and all around the world, actually. But I just felt like I needed to have courage to do this, to have courage to push the initiative. And that takes a bold person. Beautiful because South Dakota is beautiful. It's a beautiful place to live. It's different. And then also ethnic hair care, curly hair, kinky hair is beautiful. The stories of adoptive parents that have children that are of different races and embraces them as their own and doesn't look at skin color, it's beautiful. And so I just saw all the beauty in the different stories and the fabric of Brookings and my own personal story, and that's how I came up with the name.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Girl Get Up podcast. I am your host, your gracious host, the Aquarian Chancellor. And this is the podcast where I share my stories, the good, the bad, the ups and the downs. I invite my guests. They come on and they share their stories, all in hopes that inspires you, the listening audience, to go out and discover your infinite possibilities. If you do not know who I am and what I do, I am the creator of the Career Strategies for Success guidebook and the Career Strategies for the Infinite Dreamer. Together, they are the foundation of the Infinite Dreamers program, a career curriculum designed for youth ages 16 to 25, teaching them everything workforce related. So if you are interested, if you are a business owner, if you are a decision maker or a part of a homeschooling community, and you are looking for resume writing content, anything workforce related, I am your girl. So please go to my website, www.yourinfinitedirection.com, or email me at jones@yourinfinitedirection.com, and I will be happy to work with you. So today I got two perfect guests to talk about career and to talk about some advocacy work for the natural hair community. Welcome, Miss Christina Thurston and Miss Malaika Tamu-Cooper. How are you ladies doing today?
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am happy to have you here. Christina and I met 2 years ago at a pitch event. And here we are, full circle, 2 years later, talking about her documentary. If I'm not mistaken, that you talked about it there as well. Talk about your experiences. Tell the audience who you are, what you do, and your experience. What brought you to the Great Plains?
Oh my goodness. So I am a person that wears many, many hats. As she said, my name is Christina Thurston. During the day, I work at Anne Arundel Community College, but I am also an entrepreneur. And so I started out, it was always in my heart. And then when I got married at the time, and you'll see all this in the documentary as well, my ex-husband was like, I'm going to South Dakota to get my PhD. And I said, go to South Dakota to get your PhD. I said, well, when you're in love, you'll follow a man to the end of the world. So I said, well, wherever you go, I'm going to be right with you. And so he went to South Dakota State to get his doctorate degree in plant science. And he's a plant geneticist by trade. And so I was like so excited to go with him because I had never been to South Dakota. I had never even been to the Midwest. So for me to go out there was definitely a different experience. And I know the gifts that I have. I told him I can do my gifts anywhere. I'm an administrator by profession. So that was going to be easy for me to get into a secretarial job. But then when I realized, I was really like the only black person. Like we would see a black person walk the street, like where they come from. It was literally 1%. Black people are 1% of the population in South Dakota. So
Okay.
during that time, I noticed a lot of white moms had black children or like biracial children. And they would come up to me in the Walmart, had like an aisle this big. At that time, I was relaxed. So I only had like two types of options for relaxers. And they would come up to me and ask me for help. And at that time, I only had a 3-year-old and a newborn baby. So I didn't really know myself. And
Mhm.
so, I'm from the East Coast. Bronner Brothers is a big thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what if I brought Bronner Brothers here, right? I don't know what I was thinking. But, God really placed it in my heart. And, he says, write the vision and make it plain so that those that read it will run with it. So I just started writing everything down. And then I saw that the city of Brookings had a tourism grant. And
Okay.
so what could you do to bring tourism to the city? So I'm like, okay, well, we can let the black people descend on Brookings, South Dakota. Not realizing the distance between South Dakota, North Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska. And then the pockets are small because we really are the minority. I don't think when you grow up in a major city, you probably don't think, I grew up with all black people. So white people was the minority where I grew up. So I didn't understand the concept of how we were the minority until I got in a predominantly white community and was reaching as far as I could reach and still was not touching black people.
Wow.
So that's when I really experienced the ethnic hair care desert. Um, the Lord made a way. I used my own money and I brought somebody in from Indiana to teach ethnic hair care. So you'll see the whole journey of how I got to the point of using my own money to fly a stylist in to teach the white people ethnic hair care and the moms. And even that was still a small amount. I didn't even scratch the surface.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm excited. I hope I inspire some folks that have the resources to go to these ethnic hair care deserts and educate, because those biracial children, those the Sudanese children that have been adopted by white people, they are us. And they deserve to have hair experiences and love themselves and love their hair. And their parents, their moms and dads that are white, need to learn how to maintain their children's hair. So I also, from that, branched into my program that I have. It's now been bi-yearly, called Me, My Mommy, and My Curls. And
Mhm.
that also started in South Dakota because I wanted little black girls to connect with each other, and I needed moms to be in a safe space where they could talk about some of the hair care challenges that they were having, and then also get some information as well. So that also started in South Dakota, and then I brought it and I had it in DC before the pandemic, and then I held it in Annapolis. So it looks like I'm gonna be coming to Baltimore, y'all.
Okay. Miss Malika, I apologize. Please share with the audience your extensive history with natural hair care. Oh, wait a minute. We can't hear you.
Yes, I think you're still on mute.
Are you- It might be the stream. We can't hear you. Okay, so Miss Malika is the founder of the Natural Hair Care Expo. We're going to hear from her. Why she do that? Okay, she jumped out. She's going to come back in. But could you share with the audience? You said love brought you to South Dakota. Was that South Dakota?
Yes, South Dakota. So I want to shout out my alma mater, Bennett College for Women. I was blessed to graduate from there. I got to matriculate under Dr. Janetta B. Coles and Dr. Julianne Malvo. So I'm a superwoman just because I went to college at Bennett College. So shout out to my Bennett Bills. And then my ex-husband, he went to Edward Water State. And so we met. It's a little sorority fraternity connection. And he just already knew that he wanted to be a scientist. And so I was like,
That's
okay, well,
amazing.
a black scientist is very rare, especially when you focus in on plant science. And
Mhm.
I just really felt like I want to support you and be there for you. And I knew I would get an experience out of it because I've never been nowhere. Miami, Philly, that's my extent of my
But now you have been able to make a national impact
yeah.
by focusing and advocating for hair. Miss Malaika, welcome back.
Yeah,
Could you share with the audience your
yeah.
extensive
I
hair
signed out.
care? Okay, go ahead.
I signed out.
Yes,
This is better.
yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, my master locticians here in Baltimore, Maryland. When I was in college, family, I would go home and my family would press their hair, perm their hair, jerry types of chemicals. And then when I went to school, I saw these beautiful natural people. I was opened up to it. And then I would go back home and my family was putting perms again, fragrances. Then I would go back and I would find that when I put those chemicals in my hair would break off, more care. It was just ridiculous. And I would go back to school and I would wear braids and my hair would flourish. And I would go back home and then my family would say, you look nappy. And then I would go, I was like, what? This kind of a dual personality. So I started going to new sisters who had absolutely beautiful natural hair. I went to Philly. I saw people who had absolutely those would skip over Baltimore, go to DC, and then go to Atlanta. We need this here in Baltimore because none of my sister girls are educated. Their problems, and it was because of the chemical. So I made it a point to start educating myself. 1993. I'm 57 years old. This was 1993. Uh, this was going on, and I just started educating myself all over the place. Two of my, Dr. Joanne Cornwell, the founder of Sister Lock, she's coming to the Baltimore Natural Hair Care. Pamela Farrell, she wrote one of the first textbooks called Where, and she owns Cornrows and Company in Washington. Single thing that I could mastered my craft so much that I was one of the top teachers at the World Natural Hair Show in Atlanta. Oh my, when I tell you there, I have the oldest lock shop in Baltimore City. It's called Dreadz-N-Headz. And I just I I just tell you from then on, the sky after being a teacher at the World Natural Hair Show, I decided to bring that back to Baltimore 3 years ago. And I started the
Mhm.
Baltimore Natural Hair Care Expo. And it's again this year, June 1st and 2nd at Stevenson University. Hello?
Now you have quite an extensive hair care. Your resume. You have won the Golden Scissors 3 years. Is it consecutively?
Hmm.
Talk about your experience in the natural hair community. What fueled your advocacy for natural hair?
Yeah, it was an evolution. I went from and now having the largest lock shop in the state of Maryland. Find anybody to do my hair in its natural state. Everyone wanted to put chemicals in. Nutrition is what I called it, as graduating from school, having to deal with what do you call it? When I would go to try to get jobs, they wouldn't give me jobs. My hair was natural. I lost
Mm-hmm.
several jobs because my hair was natural. You know, image is every community. So then I started doing hair in my kitchen and everywhere, and I started to get into natural hair care, not just styling it, but natural. I grew so big, I started in my kitchen, then I moved to a townhouse, and I bought a house and renovated the house to now having 2 and 3 salons where I teach children how to. And then when that got out, people started coming to me. I've taught hair in Paris, London, West Indies, Suriname, Belize, you name it, Puerto Rico. I've been there teaching. And then I would bring those people to the Baltimore Natural Hair Care Expo. And the word just got out. It's going to Edmonton, Canada, and back to Montreal to teach. Big flower in my cap was going to the African world, Africa in Nigeria. So what was funny for me was that I went to Nigeria to how to do African American hair.
Mm-hmm.
That was the culmination for me. Right? I wanted our folks to be reintroduced to their own natural aesthetic. And what fueled me the most was my baby cousin, 16 grandkids, and 12 of them are girls, and I had to do their hair. So they were my live mannequins. And my baby cousin said to me, the prom. I couldn't remember what it was. And she said, we have to go to and she said, because we got to go buy some hair. And I'm looking at her for years. And my baby sister, also, who I had maintained, she went off to college and came back with a perm with all this bouncing and behaving hair. I didn't speak to her for about mad that she had put that. And I watched her hair break off from the chemical burns and her having to put Vaseline on her scalp trying to stop them. And the one thing was that my baby cousin said that she had to go to the agent to look at the whole wall of weave to buy her beauty. That we pass down to our children that they're not beautiful the way they are. That they've never been taught to love their hair the way their body. No, we have to control the images that our children see. So I have a Natural Hair Care Expo, and I have Happy Nappy Day in the park. It's a sea of locks, braids, twists. I even have t-shirts and coils. I have everything to do to remember that we were beautiful in the natural state. I even brought the founder, Dr. Willie Merrill. He wrote the first textbook as well for the science of curly hair. He was also he died a couple years ago. He was also the inventor of the Afro Pick 53. I mean, I did everything I could to educate Afro. And that's where I am today.
For someone who has traveled the world teaching about natural hair care, what are some of the attitudes that people had prior to and then after they've come in contact with you and you've been able to educate them?
Well, for years, I was screaming, this is where we're getting fibroids from. This is where we're getting uterine cancer. This is where we have alopecia. All of these different things are, even though alopecia is an autoimmune deficiency, it's one of the culprits. of why people have alopecia. For years, I had to look at me and would be like, ew, why did you do that to yourself? Or, um, uh, I, give me a present. Why would you do that to your own pretty hair? I was like, well, on your hair. So I really had to deal with the miseducation and creativity of some of our people. Now, 32 years in the game, I wish I had listened to you then. I wish I had listened to you now. So now my evolution and to get smart back with people, but now to educate them. And now that alopecia, I'm explaining to people about alopecia. I've experienced it myself. Long locks that's graced the covers of magazines worldwide. But one thing I didn't do was to go out and buy hair, fluids, and do all of those different things. I see all the YouTube videos with Gorilla Glue. Can't get it horrifies me. I see videos from your child's head. I just want to get on there and call Child Protective Services right now. That's poisoning them. I mean, it's all kinds of things that I've learned, and this is why I still run Natural Hair Care Expo. And the sister Christina, she and I met, and she said, Malaika, I wanted to talk to you about my film. I said, it's in, it's done. She was like, I said, no, we're showing the film because this is what we need to do. We need to educate ourselves aesthetically.
Yeah. I don't know if the audience, because you were going in and out, and it seems that every time we get to have a good conversation, this lawnmower starts going. But Christina, could you please?
My dogs aren't barking.
She had mentioned. Okay, so first of all, Malaika, I've been stalking you. I'm actually a fan. When I came back to the East Coast, I was like, how can I get this me, my mommy, and my curls off the ground? Like, what am I to do? And I went on Eventbrite and I saw, I think it was in the park. I saw your event in the park, but I didn't have a car. And I was living in Hyattsville, Maryland. And I was like, oh my gosh, how can I get all the way out to Baltimore? And so I just started following like your events and the things that you were doing. I'm on your mailing list. I always get all your emails. And so when I had decided to do the me, my mommy, and my curls in DC was because it was close to where I live. And I was like, well, she does email blasts, right? I know your email blast. So if y'all want to promote with Malaika as well, she does email blasts for all your events. And I was like, one day I'm going to connect with her. And I think it was definitely divine timing. I work with the Baltimore Metropolitan Women's Business Center, so shout out to them. They had a Women Win Within Expo. So businesses could come for free, women-owned businesses could come for free and set up and tell about their products. They got a chance to do like a 30-second, I don't want to say pitch, but just promotional for their products. And then it was on the campus of Morgan State. And I already saw your name come through because that was part of my job. I was like, I'm going to get to meet you. I'm so excited. And she rose up with her things. And I'm like, hey, I stopped her. I was like, I have a documentary. The documentary is my baby. And I think a lot of the times we don't talk about biracial children and their hair. We don't talk about white moms doing black kids' hair. And then I'm from the East Coast. I don't hear about the Midwest. So I don't know about the type of challenges that they have in these ethnic hair care deserts, because there are black people in these spaces. They just don't have the resources. I got out there and I had maybe 6 months worth of stuff. And this wasn't when Amazon Prime was popping. So, I had my line sister send me hair. I was on YouTube trying to figure out how to braid my own hair. I actually went natural while I was out there. It was as a protest to my ex because I wanted to leave. And I was like, I'm not gonna put a perm in my head until we leave South Dakota. And it ended up being three. I woke up and it was 3 years later. but
That
but
worked out.
I also realized like I couldn't understand. I couldn't relate to my child because I was like, why are y'all crying? But I had a relaxer since I was 4. So I
Mhm.
never knew what tender headed meant. When I'm, combing their head, why does it hurt? So then when I started to go through the process, I started to be more empathetic towards how I was styling my daughter's head, and how I was combing it and looking and doing my own research. So I just felt like it needed to be on a bigger screen. Shout out to the Minneapolis, the Twin Cities Black Film Festival. I was able to show it there in 2022. And so I'm hoping to get into other spaces so we can continue to have this conversation.
Wow. How important in getting the film? Well, first of all, my first question to you before I ask that is, did you see and what did would let you know that what you were doing in your program and your film had made an impact in the South Dakota community that you were a part of? Did you start to see more African American or natural hair care targeted products on the shelves? How did you know you were seeing change?
That's a wonderful question. And if you when you come and watch, you'll see at the end, I give some facts at the end.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
but I will say this because I don't want to spoil it. But I will say this. I did not understand racism or microaggressions because I grew up in a predominantly black community, and I didn't understand it until I went to South Dakota.
Mm,
When you see a state vote for Trump and people like celebrating it, you're like, what is going on? Their perception of black people is literally what they see on TV. They it's nothing but farmland. So they get up at 6 a.m. They milk the cows. They feed the cows. They have breakfast. They do whatever work there. The kids go to school. The
mm,
kids that go to high school together, they marry each other. There's one stoplight, and they have a joke to say if it's traffic, it's because it's a tractor at a stoplight. Like in tractor, if you get behind a tractor, it's really slow. So like
mm,
I really literally did not see black people. Now I worked on the campus of South Dakota State, and they have international programs. So there were students from all over the world that came there, and I was able to start a program called the Sister Circle, and actually won an award for that. But that was also like oh well, this DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, is a big deal now, so we have to have something. So I ended up becoming like a token, which was never my goal for my work. They were just
mm.
using me as a poster child because I was black. And so
Right.
I started to learn a lot more about racism, and I didn't have the impact. If I had an infinite amount of money and time, and we only had one car, and I had 2 kids, and I had a husband and a doctoral program, I probably could have made a bigger impact. It's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of resources to have that type of impact. Just to get to the nearest city is an hour and a half away. There are mothers that are driving 3 hours to Minneapolis, Minnesota, to get their daughter's hair braided.
Oh, wow.
There are some mothers that are flying their kids to bigger cities to get to Nebraska, and we know Lincoln, Nebraska, and Omaha. They're predominantly black
Mhm.
communities, but to get there and then to connect with the people, it's really hard work, and it's definitely a labor of love. So I'm hoping somebody is inspired to go into those pockets. That's not really my
Right.
ministry. My ministry was just to make the message.
Well, somebody will see that documentary and pick up the torch and go and
Yes.
take that next step. So, Miss Malaika, you've been doing, how long have you been doing the Natural Hair Care Expo?
Um, I October of 2001, I went and did my last show in Atlanta, Georgia. I did my last show teaching. And so I just felt like it was time for me. So 2002, I did Baltimore Natural Hair Care Expo, and I had no idea about the infrastructure and what it took to say you want to do something. But when you have to put the work in for it. So that junior weekend, I didn't want my event to interfere with anything else that was going on. Like, I'm not going to do it in April because that's when they have the World Show. New York in June, they have so I did it Martin Luther King Jr. weekend too. And when I tell you, I was in tears. I was sitting up. I couldn't get any sleep, and because it snowed the day before.
Oh, wow.
I had put in 90 some days research how to do one. And the day before it snowed. I had sold all of the down to it, all kinds of things that went on, but people came out and it was packed. I had so many vendors wanting to vend. So I was like, we have a waiting list of like 15 vendors. I said, where am I going to put you? In the more space. And it was one of the most phenomenal shows I ever did. She was in a hair desert. I realized it was a hair desert here in Baltimore. And people were like, when is the next one? When is the next one? The next one, I went and rented out a multi-purpose room at the college. I mean, at a high school. Then I rented out a museum. Then I got bougie and started going to the armories and went to a couple of hotels. I can give you the do's and don'ts of putting on a natural. Stay away from the hotels. They priced out. And university, which is a big privately owned university, who has rolled out the carpet for us. Go to the hotels, it's 19 to 20,000. That just takes all of your profit. Down to the convention centers, they have unions, and just for them to flip on the light is $2,500. Just for them to give you electricity and those of how to put on a show. I've known it. I've grown easy. I want to keep it just moderate this year because I think I'm going to keep this. But the evolution of what I am attempting to do next is going to be the Fro Fest. Not only just concentrating on locks, International Natural Hair Care Fro Fest. That is my dream. That's the evolution. I'm near an entire stadium to control the images that our children see. The biggest Fro festival that you ever want to see, and I'm going to show her film right there on the jumbo screen. So this show probably within the next 2 years, and look out for information. You'll be in the stands doing this, the first annual Fro Fest.
Okay, well, I love it. What a trade, bro. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Look, you're putting it in the atmosphere.
I got the logo and everything for it. It's already. When God laid that in my spirit, during COVID, they should never give a hairstylist a Saturday off. I was laying there like, what should I be doing? So again, with my evolution, small book I'm writing called Evolution of Malaika Tamu. And so I make products for agents to buy the products that I wanted. So I started making my own products. My product, I have an Etsy store. I'm just coming off of a wine festival, the 1,000 people wine festival, where I have now emptied out probably 70 containers, oils and scrubs, and set up everything, nappy friendly t-shirts. We did everything. While I was there, during COVID, I decided to take my hair and body oil and I made sugar scrubs from my hair and body oil because the same skin that's on your head is that. And we started a whole nother business called Scrub. I spell my dreads with a Z. And we probably, this is going, my voices, it was 50,000 people out in the middle of a vineyard and the biggest sign heads. And that's also what she was talking about, my marketing with Malaika. I just marketed to all, and people came out, and we couldn't even get our tents open, our products. So we'll be also having classes at the Baltimore Natural Hair Care Expo on going from the kitchen to six figures. We have how to get that money at your own building with the Mortgage Queen. We have a sister named Kimi who is coming out, and she's from California. We have Dr. Joanne Cornwell, the originator of Sister Locks. Our Tyree, you remember the book back in the day, The Fly Girl? He will be there.
Yep, that was a staple.
Exactly.
I had that book. I was on the side of the bed reading it.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. We have Marcy and Shanti Walker. Shanti Walker is going to be teaching how to build a beard for the brothers. Shanti Walker, how to style sister locks and micro locks. We have Lace Virginia. She's coming to do avant-garde styling and coloring lock. I tell you that this class this year has a heavy focus on education. So we can go out there and get all of the styles and things like that off of YouTube and the pictures and all of that, but take care of the follicles, learn how to transition from chemical to natural, learn thinning hair. When I tell you the classes that we have put together for this show, from A to Z, we even have a sister coming out talking to you about the negative thoughts. We have my coaching, what's in your womb, because sisters don't know that stress patches. What's in your womb? What are you carrying around like a baby?
Yeah.
You need to talk this year. Small, quaint, and deep. Sister locks, revolutionized how to make locks. So they were at one point in time there was only two, where you look like Bob Marley, or cultivated where you have big, thick traditional locks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Cornwell has developed a system where you can take very small, actually parting and sectioning and gridding, and make the hair so that it was not open hair. And she teaches her technique. Have tried to steal other cops. All micro locks are just a bastardization. I'm going to teach you about the linguistics also. My hair is so nappy. No, it's coral patterns. Your hair is either kinky, curly, wavy, or straight. Mm-hmm. Got to control the next. Learn to educate them and control the images that they see.
Yeah.
So one more.
Natural hair is, huh?
Can I just say one more time? It's the Baltimore. It's happening June 1st and 2nd at Stevenson University. We're going to have with presenters. We're going to have Christina Thurston's film showing. We're going to have shows. My salon, Dreadz-N-Headz, is going to be styling all of the models. We're going to have educational classes on everything from your finances Oh, yes, this is one of the Jennifer Drew. She is the hair CEO. For all of hair specialists or anybody that's in the hair community.
Mhm.
She teaches you how to do for hairstylists only. I owed in $2,000 in taxes. She went back in, looked over it, and knocked it down to 1,240. And the sister shows you
Wow.
and explains to you everything that you need to know about your stylist. Writing off the clips, writing off the casual labor, things that I didn't even think that I could write off. The sister's there to help you
Mm.
with. Class with the hair CEO Jennifer Drew. She can't even do everything via video because you send her everything and she sends you back a tax return. Okay, uh, just come out to the show. You're going to see and get totally educated. 2 days. All right.
Okay. So
Natural hair care.
because your audio is going in and out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything, all of the links and stuff. If we can talk behind, after this closes out, and I'm going to get all of the links so that I can include it in the video description so people can go. I'm about to put the caption back up. This is where you guys can go to purchase your tickets to the Natural Hair Care Expo. And then I'm on the outro. I'm going to play the documentary again, but I just want to talk to Christine really quickly before we leave. What is the hope for your film? I want to make sure I say it. It is called Bold, Boldly Beautiful Ethnic Hair Care on the Great Plains. So that is the name of the documentary. It's going to be featured at the Natural Hair Care Expo. What is the hope for your film in 2 years, 3 years from now? What is the hope?
My hope for my film in 2 years or three, I would love to be at the World Natural Expo. I'm going to be at the Fro Fest and any other fest because we need to have the conversation, and I think too often our biracial children, and it's becoming more prevalent. It's probably always been prevalent, but it's never been a discussion. As well as those children that are adopted from Africa, they're having a culture shock already going into an adoption system, and then they're getting taken by white parents that don't understand their hair, don't understand their skin, and then they're being raised in predominantly white communities. So now they don't even know their culture. So let's have the conversation. I hope in the next 2 to 3 years that somebody is setting up a World Natural Hair Care Expo in Iowa, in Nebraska. I'm not sure if Minneapolis has anything to this extent, but I've seen them try during the 5 years that I was in South Dakota because it was a 3 hour drive. That's where we would go for fun, but that's also where you would go to get, those hair care products if you need it. A 3 hour
Mhm.
drive is crazy. But places like Minneapolis that has a mixed community, has black community, they need to be having those kind of expos. The Midwest is popping. And so those places where there are deserts, I'm hoping that people migrate and they start popping up. And this is also a way for people to blaze the trail, right? And open the doors for other stylists and break
Mhm.
down those barriers so that we can have the same type of businesses thriving that are on the coast as it is in middle America.
Yeah. And what
And that will
about you?
also change the trajectory, I think, of like voting and things of that nature. When more black people get into those spaces, when more minorities get into those spaces, we can change the trajectory of even politics, and it can start with here.
Yeah, that's something that we think something is simple, but it has a greater impact that we have to sit and think about when we make our decisions of who we decide to vote for. Miss Malaika, what are your hopes for the Natural Hair Care Expo, the Fro Expo, the Afro Expo? Where do you see your advocacy and your programs going within the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, if I could just change the mind of one person, and that one person changed the outset of the next person and the next person, view their natural beauty, be reintroduced to your natural beauty, to have alternative to the way we've been doing things. And it starts with a P and turns into an avalanche. When we just start educating the next generation, they're going to come out to these different things. We're going to have away from chemicals, a worldwide movement towards health, a world to where people no longer look at natural hair or locks dirty or something unmanageable. I want to change the concept of how we view ourselves. See, so this is why this is my ministry, to put on the Natural Hair Care Expo. I want it to be the Grammys. One day we're going to hang out a big old woman with a bald head on it, or a woman with a big afro on it, and it's going to be equal to Grammys and to the Emmys and all of that. This is the natural hair care specialist of the they have to have a mold or a cast for you to hand those out there. I want us to get to that, to our shows from all over the world, reaching Guam. I wanted to reach the Antarctica, the Arctic, everywhere. Black folk with natural hair. I wanted them to know about the natural beauty, the Natural Road Festival, the International Beauty Award, National Beauty Awards. That's what my habit.
Yeah, that's because what the truth is it. Let me turn this down. The truth of it is that there's still even misconceptions about locks and natural hair, even within amongst ourselves. So I'm going to be there. I want to encourage everyone to go and get your tickets. You can check out the link right here on the caption. That's where you can go to purchase your tickets to the Natural Hair Care Expo. It's going to be at Stevens University in Owings Mills, Maryland, that Baltimore area. So everyone come out and support. Get your tickets. Go online. And with that, everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Thank you, ladies, for hanging in there with me. I'm going to keep you guys, but I'm going to let the audience go. So with that, everyone,
Thank you.
take care.
Bye.